Hello there and welcome to today's webinar, the top 5 trends for 2020. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules today and joining us. We will be recording the webinar and we'll be sending you a link to that webinar post the session. If anybody has any questions, by all means, there'll be an opportunity on that link to ask some questions because we're probably going to be a little tight for time today as we've tried to keep the session condensed to 30 minutes. But without further ado, so my name is Gareth Cram. Great to meet you all. I am the Product Strategy and Transformation Director for Wolters Kluwer, and I'm responsible, as you can see there on screen, for defining the strategy and direction of our tax and accounting software suite here and the UK, and also preparing and readying and challenging our own business internally to meet the needs of our customers externally within the market. I've been within the software industry for a little over 20 years now, and across both accountants and SMEs, both in the UK, but also supporting businesses internationally too. So 2019, as we all know, has been nothing short of rapid within our industry, facing, amongst other things, the introduction of making tax digital for VAT. Uncertainty around Brexit has impacted 2019. To face it, it's going to continue to do so through part of this year as the government continues to work towards a solution as part of its exit plan. Digitalization, as usual, has continued to accelerate within practices through 2019. Again, in part driven by MTD, but also firms are looking to drive real greater efficiencies and set themselves apart from the competition. So today we want to prepare you for some of the trends and challenges that you're likely to face in 2020, and we'll continue to follow up this theme as we go through the year to give our view on what we're seeing in the market from within our customer base, and not just in the UK but also internationally. There's no shortage of innovations, digitalization, and let's say exciting changes to our industry. And at Wolters Kluwer, it's really important that we help you to navigate these changes, arming you with as much knowledge and solutions from us that help you to make your business run more efficiently and let's face it, to provide the best type of service that you can to your clients. So with some of those things in mind, let's take a look at, let's start looking at some of these trends. So trend one, so the first trend I want to look at is the continuation of the virtual practice, and obviously journey to cloud, which is going to accelerate further in 2020, as you would imagine. And we're seeing a real new wave of practices emerging, with startups establishing themselves as a digital practice from day one, which is also forcing more future thinking practices to adopt some of these practices too. And some of the common traits that you'd recognize in these firms are things like their laptop or their chosen device is their office. Collaboration is through shared real-time access to client data. Client meetings take place in electronic and paperless, to name but a few. And without the overheads of running an office, costs are low, and they can respond very, very quickly to changing client demands, as you would imagine. And however, this also leads to an increased reliance on data integration and cloud products in order to enable those firms. Now, traditionally, many accounting and bookkeeping processes such as entering invoices, bank reconciliation, reporting were done manually. With cloud accounting, much of this is automated, as you're finding out, which significantly reduces manual data input and reduces the risk of human error across the workflow. So cloud accounting software is not reliant on the device. Data is instantaneously available from anywhere to both you and your clients with the right software. And there's also a higher level of security with additional levels of encryption. So forward-thinking practices are looking for every opportunity to embrace these technologies. They're continuously visiting their own processes and implementing technology, such as our own clients implementing CCH Central with CCH OneClick, because they're looking for advanced automation, looking for advanced collaboration, and making marginal gains at every point, every touch point across the workflow. So solutions that, for example, that digitally collect data from multiple sources, automatically consume that data for various purposes across their applications, implementing secure document exchange and simple automated approval processes, digitalized approval processes, and providing greater collaboration with your clients. And firms will need to consider that the transactional cost of data processing and movement of that data will exceed current storage, and therefore future thinking firms are likely to have a clear understanding of the benefits about getting this right, and they're probably looking to double or even triple their data strategy budget to enable them to soar past their competition. Secondly, I want to just talk briefly about the rise of the advisory firm. So our research in Wolters Kluwer has shown us that firms who continue to focus solely on compliance work will grow annually between 0 to 3%. If you compare that, however, with firms focused on delivering high-value advisory services to their clients, they can anticipate growth in the region of 10 to 20% annually. So if your firm is looking to looking to grow its revenues by double-digit growth, then we really must see this shift between traditional compliance work into this advisory services sector. Now, many accountants we speak to are already offering advisory services, even if they're not recognizing them and maybe monetizing them today. You'll all recognize when you've sent out that report to your customer, you report to that client, and off the back of that, you receive that call or that email with that infamous, "Can I just ask one further question?" And it's in those moments that follow that there's often a significant amount of value that you're providing to your clients. Value that comes from many years of experience, many hours of getting close to and understanding your client's business and how they compare to others. Some of you will be delivering that service as part of your existing portfolio that you offer, no doubt, but there's an opportunity for you to look to monetize this and drive further value for both your firm, but also for your clients. Now, at Wolters Kluwer, we went out and we asked 700 practices across the UK and beyond about how they were looking to bill for additional services. Now, 50% said they were looking to incorporate value-added services to retain and bolster their existing fee earning structure, which makes an awful lot of sense because many of you were saying that your existing fee earning structure was coming under considerable pressure in the market right now. However, a similar percentage were also looking to attach an additional price based upon the type of service being delivered. So if you're working with a client, for example, where you're looking to raise significant amount of funds, there's clearly an additional value that can be attached to that outside of your normal traditional, let's call it, fee earning structure. In the research, by the way, we did see the really early emergence of some firms that were starting to offer compliance as a free of charge offering. And their thinking behind that approach was to enable them to access quickly a greater proportion of these added value services. So they're looking to free of charge the compliance piece in order to deliver the higher value added services. Very early in that adoption, so we'll continue to monitor that really closely, and we'll share with you what we continue to see happening in the market. So there's a number of indicators to suggest to you whether one of your clients has a higher propensity to require additional added value services. If your customers are already asking you questions such as, how do I compare to other similar businesses of my size in my region, in my industry, for example, then they're already giving you signals that they're really hungry for benchmarking services, for instance, which is a service that you can deliver. Now, there are solutions out there available and that are developed solely for the purpose of providing added value services. And at Wolters Kluwer, we have our FinSet solution, which is currently being used by a number of practices. And FinSet integrates into various bookkeeping packages, enabling you to harness the power of the data across those packages for you to provide additional value-added services, such as period reports, for example, at the touch of a button. If you're still relying on traditional productivity tools, for example, like Word and Excel, to provide added value services, it may be that you're not as efficient as providing those added value services as what you could be. So it's certainly worth exploring what tools are out there and available to you to support you. Next, I'd like to touch on the introduction of robotic processing automation, RPA. Again, with something which you are probably hearing an awful lot about in the industry press and beyond at the moment. So there is going to be a continued acceleration of robotic process automation through 2020 as practices continue to look to effectively automate routine tasks which are often high in effort and often low in value exchange between the practice and their clients. We find that, and I'm sure you agree, nobody likes to sit and undertake the same routine and often, let's be frank, often monotonous task day in, day out, that repetitive routine task. Therefore, not only will RPA lead to greater efficiencies for your practice, but it's also likely to improve employee satisfaction, enabling them to focus on the things that they got into the industry to be able to deliver. Now, with employee satisfaction, with improvement in employee satisfaction, of course, we know this tends to have an immediate impact and long-lasting impact on customer experience. Happy employees, happy customers is an old adage that we're all familiar with. But just thinking of accounting robots as a tool that can reduce the effort needed to move routine data between systems and outside applications. It's not necessarily confined within one of your applications. So it can move data between tools. It can undertake routine tasks, where often there is a likelihood of error due to keying of data, for instance. In some areas of the industry that are already taking on robotic process automation include invoice processing, for example, customer information updates, financial reporting, tax compliance even. And this has started to evolve quite quickly in 2019, as a lot of you will, as I'm sure you all know, but this trend will continue through 2020, and it's a trend which we are expecting to accelerate. Again, as I say, as practices look to automate processes and deliver marginal gains at every single opportunity. So a key question therefore is, what impact could robotic process automation have on your firm? And I've mentioned the removal of repetitive routine tasks. High volume tasks could be prone to human error, as I've mentioned. So clearly you're improving the quality of your data and therefore potentially the outputs from your practice. Now, automating as many areas as possible within your workflows will enable you to deliver more with the same resources, thereby increasing efficiency and profitability, whilst also getting to spend more time with your clients, which is something that you are frequently telling us that you'd love to do, but time is often an existing burden for you. Creating and carving out the time from your existing day to spend more time with your clients has been one of your challenges over the past couple of years, and RPA is one of the areas that will enable you to free up time and spend time doing the things that you want to do most. So by digitalizing and automating processes within the practice, you're able to intervene and add value where you're needed most, managing by exception and responding to alerts, for instance, rather than manually turning the cogs yourself. So one way of managing your practice story by exception is by automating areas of your workflow within your practice management solution. So you can essentially create your own virtual assistant. The tools are there today for you to do that, setting up alerts and business rules which monitor your systems and automatically notify you if your predefined conditions are not met. You'll then be making informed business decisions based on a complete view of your practice's success indicators and performance metrics in real time. And Moltex Kluwer have a tool that you'll be aware of, and no doubt, which is called CCH KPI monitoring. So triggers can come from applications across the CCH integrated software suite. If we use CCH KPI monitoring as an example here, so triggers are set to alert you to issues, for example, on WIP, on debtor days, on billing, on timesheet submissions, on timesheet delays, for example, just to give you a small taster. Now, when KPI monitoring is hooked into our powerful workflow engine, you can even choose to automate significant parts of your credit control routines. So these alerts can be automatically sent by email to any number of individuals, both within or outside of their practice. So automating as much of the workflow as possible, removing routine tasks, removing errors within the workflow, which are highly dependent upon human intervention through RPA, and then plugging in those alert tools, plugging in powerful workflow tools will enable you to automate as much of the process, and you get to focus on using the data, validating the data to provide added value services, for example, to your clients, rather than spending your time rekeying and processing data itself. And as I said, RPA, big continuation of a trend that started on 29 and arguably a little earlier under a different under the automation title, but we're going to see it accelerate significantly through 2020 and I've no doubt beyond. So fourth trend, something that will be of no surprise to anybody listening to the webinar, which is increased legislation and regulation as usual. And with every legislation and regulation change, of course, there is an opportunity for the practice, for the accountant to demonstrate why they are the partner of choice to their client. So MTD, as we know, is here to stay, and the first rush of submissions under MTD for VAT is becoming, I'm sure, a distant memory for many of you, and even for clients in the deferral group. So the soft landing period for MTD for VAT will end in April, as you know, and digital links will be mandatory from this date. So it's vital to ensure that the software supplier that you're using is not only supporting you in delivering against your compliance obligations today, but that it's ahead of the curve and it's able to demonstrate to you how they are ready to meet HMRC requirements in the future, like with MTD for income tax, for example. So it's always important for you to be continuing to talk to your solution provider to understand how they're addressing the funnel, let's call it, of legislation and regulation change that's coming down the line from HMRC. So we're expecting to see more regularity, complexity in the compliance space, which was likely going to drive you to want to consider the digitalization of pre-accounting flows, for example, receipts and expense capture, for instance, automatic data generation to populate accounting software, collaboration tools to allow instant exchange of data with clients and approval. So again, looking to create the capacity within your practices to enable you to absorb the additional challenges that come with additional legislation and regulation, while still being able to service your clients appropriately. Now, future fit firms are implementing end-to-end solutions across the compliance cycle, from receiving information from clients to eventually filing the accounts, the tax return, to the HMRC. And at Wolters Kluwer, our integrated software provides a seamless process that eliminates manual intervention and paper. In short, the process could be as simple, if I give you an example of a full end-to-end automation process, starting with the extraction of data from receipts and invoices in our base coding solution. In our base code solution, using optical recognition software in the moment that automatically feeds the data to the correct client within your bookkeeping solution. Next, data will flow from your bookkeeping software to create the set of accounts facilitated by our open integration solution, which provides a live link with both your bookkeeping software and your accounts production software through CCH OneClick, enabling you to integrate with your chosen bookkeeping solutions. And as we know, more often than not, you're having to support multiple solutions within your practice, or our open integration program, and that enables you to suck in data from multiple bookkeeping solutions into our open integration program and then into the practice management suite. So the approval process is also likely to be digitalized with a full audit trail available, should you wish, before you commit the information to the tax return. The tax return is then automatically populated for submission to HMRC using our CCH OneClick live link to the digital tax account. So if I just quick summarize there, staying ahead of the curve, automate as much of the process as possible. So starting with that extraction from data receipts through Basecone, using the open integration to pass that information from the bookkeeping software into the set of accounts, and then providing that set of accounts for authorization through OneClick through to your client before submitting it for approval into the tax return and then submission into HMRC itself. And there's no need to manually input data or move data manually at any stage of that process. So forward-thinking practices are automating their compliance where appropriate with as few mouth clicks or taps on their device as possible. And instead, they're spending their time using and reviewing the data for the benefit of their clients. So from a compliance cycle perspective, it's about how your software provider, how your solution provider can automate as much of that process as possible, reduce the burden from you as much as possible so that you can continue to focus on servicing and providing that trusted partner status to your clients. Finally, for today's session, I just wanted to mention the heightened alert to cybercrime. So data security will remain top of mind, as we'd expect, and due in part to continued government regulation like GDPR and the continued reference to press and consequences of cyber attacks that we see. So consumers are deeply concerned with how their data is collected and used. And there's a barrage of news about data concerns, about government surveillance, about kind of corporate misconduct. Corporate misconduct is feeding this fear too. So the trend of fake or spoof communications in an attempt to gain access to credentials will continue to accelerate as they continue to become far more sophisticated and authentic looking. And as accountants, there's an opportunity to really encourage their clients to join them on their digital journey. And with more data being exchanged online, they must take every precaution possible to protect their data and encourage their clients to do likewise. So regulatory requirements introduced by GDPR have an impact on the processes and tools used by you as you increase your reliance on digital tools, of course. And accountants themselves are likely to continue to look to invest in IT skills through 2020 and beyond, or partner with IT skills through 2020 and beyond to ensure that they have the appropriate protection in place to safeguard their data and that of their clients. And you may find yourself being asked significantly more questions from clients about your information security procedures, with many seeking for you to prove or to validate that you're doing what you're saying you're doing. Now, accountants can also play an important role in educating vulnerable personal clients on the importance of paying due attention to security in conducting financial transactions. With ransomware and spoofing, and by spoofing I mean those emails that pretend to be somebody else, those things are going to continue to rise in 2020. So there's going to be further consideration for your practice. Things such as both business applications and internal systems that you're using to run your practice itself need to comply with GDPR, as you know. Hybrid and cloud solutions need to comply, and they need to protect against cyber attacks at the level defined by your practice. Where appropriate, you're using the latest AI tools yourself to protect against cybercrime. You're likely to ensure that you've got your incident management program developed, and that you're immediately actionable, that program is immediately actionable, and therefore it must be clearly understood internally what to do, how the practice responds should something unfortunately occur. And you may as a practice look to offer guidance to your clients on how to remain secure and reduce potential threats. And some practices may look to invest in filling the internal skill gaps that they have by recruiting into these areas and funding those roles by providing added value services to clients themselves. So 5 trends that we've touched on there in this webinar. So the first one we just is a quick run through, quick summary. So the first one we touched upon is the continued acceleration to cloud and the benefits that come with doing so, in terms of collaboration, in terms of automation, etc. We talked about the rise of the advisory firm, which will continue to accelerate through 2020, and this continued move from let's call it traditional fee earning potential through into this new advisory services to drive significantly more growth for practices. I then talked about RPA, so I talked about robotic process automation and how firms will continue to accelerate to look at every single part of their workflow within their practice and communication with their clients to automate as much of the routine tasks as possible to provide you with more efficiency and productivity within your firms, to enable you to do more with less, and also to remove the monotony of certain tasks within for your colleagues within your practice. I then went on to talk about the continued increased legislation and regulation, the MTD for income tax, that, as we know, was on pause, continues to be on its way. And therefore, we need to be able to carve out the time within your practice to be able to deal with this, with the additional regulatory complexities that will continue to come through 2020 and beyond. And we talked about how we could automate the whole end-to-end process from receipt capture right through, from receipt and even expense capture, for example, right through into submitting the personal tax return, with little or no rekeying of data, just purely through integration and purely through automation. And then I finished by talking about the heightened continuation of focus on cybercrime, and that ensuring that not only is your practice in a fit position in order to deliver internal policies and also respond to those internal policies in line with GDPR, but also how there's an opportunity through 2020 for you to continue to demonstrate, as I mentioned earlier, why you are a partner of choice for your clients. So be able to provide additional security tips and techniques and things for them to be considering in order to keep them safe. And so, just before we close the session, I want to just give you a very quick summary of our strategy for 2020 from a Wolters Kluwer perspective. So with the trends in the marketplace in mind, and our aim for 2020 is to help mitigate help you to mitigate against risks, ride the wave of digital transformation, and drive profitable services and greater experiences for your clients. So with that in mind, there's just some real headline key areas of focus for us for 2020. We'll group them into 4 areas for you, and we'll continue to update through webinars and various communication channels how we progress across each of these items. So if I start with collaboration, so very broadly, we want to help you to get closer to your clients, making the relationships less transactional, more about developing a real deeper understanding of their business. So through 2020, you will see Wolters Kluwer continuing to invest in tools that supports further collaboration with your clients. Secondly, productivity. We want to help you figure out how to do more with the same or even less time and even less resources. How you can standardize across your business, driving greater productivity, and automation and standardization are key aspects of that productivity. And we can do this with our integrated suite today, which drive processes like data capture across solutions automatically, rather than you needing to update spreadsheets or standalone products, and developing further solutions that we have in market today that take you from receipt capture right through to, as I say, personal tax submissions earlier, without the need to rekey any data. So productivity is a key driver for us in 2020. How you interact with external data sources, how you're pulling data sources into your CCH Central suite, for example, so that you can automate those processes and act on the data with relative ease. Third, in those strategic areas is value, was what we call a value add, and this is a nod to this continuation of trend from the traditional fee-earning compliance into that value-added double-digit growth potential. So through our focus on improved collaboration and productivity via automation, we'll be supporting you to create the time to be able to deliver further growth. So we're going to remove time spent on low value, high touch effort areas within your practice. Instead, we're going to enable you to spend more time getting closer to your clients, understanding their business, and demonstrating at every single opportunity why they're partner of choice, and how you can help their business grow and succeed. So we'll be providing you with tools to support your new advisory services. And we know we're also aware that for a number of practices, this is a new area of focus. So we'll also be providing support and guidance on how to get up and running with value-added services, the things to consider, how you may wish to potentially look to monetize, and the differing opportunities around billing for value-added services. So we'll be providing you with the tools to support your new advisory services, and these things are going to leverage the data that you've got across your multiple various bookkeeping solutions to effortlessly provide services to your customers, such as things like period reporting, benchmarking, and cash flow forecasting, for instance. So things that will enable you at a touch of a button to provide real high value added information and services and commentary to your clients. And finally, of course, our journey to cloud. So our research shows that firms that reported growth of over 10% in revenues year on year have already adopted cloud-based solutions, enabling them to move into new service areas. And our roadmap to enhance our existing portfolio with cloud solutions is well developed, as you'll know, as is our move to create our pure cloud solutions to support you in overcoming some pain points within your practice and take advantage of the benefits that come with cloud technologies. So it's a real whistle-stop tour of key areas of focus and some of the items that are underpinning those areas of focus. And as I say, we'll continue to come out to you on a regular basis through various channels of communication. Webinars is just one of them, with how we're progressing across those strategic priorities, but also what's coming down the line from Wolters Kluwer, and also what we're seeing happening in our industry by way of further trends. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen today. The team at Wolters Kluwer are, myself and the team at Wolters Kluwer are very appreciative of you taking time out of your busy schedule. We always are well aware that there's a million other things that you could be doing with your time, but I hope this very quick whistle-stop tour of trends and strategic priorities was a good use of your time, and maybe perhaps leads you to some further thoughts and conversations in your own practices, which we're happy to guide on in any way, shape, or form. We'll be emailing you a copy of the webinar so you can rewatch it at your leisure and circulate it within your practice to any of your colleagues who maybe weren't able to attend today. And in that email, we'll also provide you with a link to where you can ask follow-up questions if you wish, off the back of today's webinar. So thank you once again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.